We will continue this compare and contrast series. May Pack Hatton performance. I'm going to try and look at this objectively to the best of my ability. Try and analyze the pros and cons on both sides. And in the end, give you my verdict on why I believe, and this is what needs to be heard here and needs to be understood, why I believe deserves more credit for the victory over said opponent, in this case, Ricky Hitman Hatton. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Late 2007, Floyd Mayweather Jr. was challenged by Ricky Hatton for the 147-pound, the welterweight crown. They were both undefeated fighters at the time. However, Ricky Hatton's last go at 140, he struggled a lot, and many even feel he lost to Luis Collazo. Right, that was a feeling. I personally believe that Luis Collazo won that fight. But on paper, Ricky Hatton was undefeated. Floyd Mayweather went on to outclass Ricky Hatton. Did a marvelous job on the inside. Nullified Hatton's hidden hold tactics. Did a great job counterpunching, picking them apart. And landed a beautiful check left hook, which Hatton ended up eating right in the ring post. Hatton got back up, and Floyd did a good job finishing the fight. Something he's not known for, being a finisher. In that particular fight, he did finish. And of course, in the process, handed Ricky Hatton his first professional loss, and did it in convincing fashion. Nobody went away with any controversy. It was a knockout. On the flip side, Manny Pacquiao didn't fight Ricky Hatton at 147. He fought him at 140, where Ricky Hatton was the man, or considered the man, by the consensus. Manny Pacquiao went on to dismantle, just utterly dismantle Ricky Hatton. Like Ricky Hatton stole something. Embarrassed him. Knocked him down twice. Made a miss. It was just an embarrassing look for Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton looked lost. He looked overwhelmed. He couldn't deal with the speed. It was just embarrassing. And then got knocked out in brutal fashion in the best knockout victory of Manny Pacquiao's career. He's not known as one-punch knockout artist. And that fight landed probably the most perfect shot he's ever landed. The best left hand he ever landed. Plus his right hand, as Freddie Rhodes dubbed the Manila Ice or whatever, right? Came alive in that fight. Gave Hatton a lot of problems. Well, it's definitely, in my opinion, one of the best performances in Manny Pacquiao's career. So he gets more credit for the victory. Let's look at the pros here. Floyd Mayweather Jr. did beat Ricky Hatton when Ricky Hatton was undefeated. Fact. Floyd Mayweather Jr. Stopped him, while there were some competitive rounds early and maybe a little bit in the middle of the fight. He took over and it stopped the guy, right? You could argue Ricky Hatton was as confident as ever, motivated as ever, trained as hard as ever, wanted to beat who was at the time, as he is now, the pound-for-pound king, right? Pacquiao didn't quite have that title just yet, right, at that time. With that said, on the flip side, Ricky Hatton was a 140-pound fighter. You can argue was a more effective fighter at 140 than he was at 147. You can really argue that. And I don't see why not, right? He had never lost at that weight, although he wasn't undefeated anymore. But he did fight several times there defending his fights with the likes of a Paulie Malignaggi before he got in the ring with Manny Pacquiao, right? Beat Paulie Malignaggi in very convincing fashion, right? So with that said, I think if you look at the cons here, obviously Pacquiao was not fighting an undefeated guy. There was some slippage, in my opinion, in Ricky Hatton. In my honest opinion, there was some slippage there, right? In fact, after the Pacquiao loss, I mean, Ricky Hatton was basically done with boxing, right? However, you could argue Pacquiao ended this shit, right? For Floyd Mayweather, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, we're looking at the cons here. We're nitpicking at this point, but Ricky Hatton did move up in weight and never looked good at welterweight. If we're being honest, he did not look good against Ruiz Collazo, right? So I understand he was undefeated, but if you look at it, who beat who better, right? If we look at the performance, obviously Manny Pacquiao had a better performance, just like in the De La Hoya fight, right? He had a better performance, a more dominating performance. But I'm going to go ahead and give Manny Pacquiao the unanimous decision in this verdict right here. I'm going to give Pacquiao more credit than I will Floyd Mayweather for the win over Ricky Hitman Hatton. Now, I know exactly what some of you are going to say. Look, you conceded in the De La Hoya situation, you know, that that he had a better performance like you're doing in the Hatton situation. Well, look, because I'm calling it like it is. But it's two different scenarios, two different circumstances. Like I said, you got to analyze the circumstance. You got to use your judgment. And you got to be honest with yourself. And I'm trying to be as objective as possible. In this case, Pacquiao had the better performance. I think we could all agree with that. The thing is saying Ricky Hatton was undefeated, is that enough to really justify in Mayweather's favor to give him the verdict here? Is it really enough? Like, is there any reason to believe that if Pacquiao fought Hatton first, that the same thing wouldn't have happened? I don't see any evidence of that. I don't see what I saw in the De La Hoya situation. The rehydration thing. Not fighting that weight class for almost a whole decade. Freddie Roach bragging about how there's IV marks on De La Hoya's arm. Bragging about how he's having a weight camp and not a training camp. That was not the situation here. That is not what happened here at all. So my verdict, like it or not, unanimous decision to Manny Pacquiao to get more credit. They both get credit, but Manny Pacquiao gets more credit for his impressive victory